Hey, welcome to episode 288 of Ugly Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Freeman, and today's episode is called Hope in Detail. And I was just telling my guests how excited I am for this episode because it will touch on so many things that are dear to my heart. And thinking of really knowing place in this day and age is challenging, because a lot can draw us away from really noticing where we are at. But for instance, our phones, even watching podcasts like this one. Although I hope that this podcast will encourage us all to think about place in a deeper way and to observe it in a different way, in a deeper way. As I think about this subject, I think about one of my teachers. The first year I went to college, she was a religion teacher, Ann Pearson, and the class I took from her my freshman year has so much to do with the importance of knowing a place in the world and the spirituality of place and all that. And this professor, she was extraordinary and she just passed away. So we dedicate the show to her, and my guests will have reflections on her life too as part of this. But before we go any further, I know if you're anything like me, the modern world can be overwhelming at times. And my dad showed me this poem when I was young, and it gives me great comfort. So let me read it to you real quick to start. It's called The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. And The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wooddrake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great hand feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting with a light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and am free. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and am free. Without further ado, let me bring on our guest. But first, this.
Today's guest, David O'Hara.
Please welcome back to Awkwardly Awesome Studios, David O'Hara.
Thanks for having me, Jason. I love the introduction.
Thanks for being here again, David.
It's my pleasure, really. It's a delight to be with you.
I assume you've read that poem before.
I have. I think that might even be on my office door right now.
Please tell me a little bit about what the poem has meant to you.
Yeah. I mean, the poem feels to me like Wendell Berry's rewriting of the 23rd Psalm. The idea of lying down by still waters and finding peace, having that sense of rest that isn't earned or bought or only available to the powerful and the wealthy, but rather finding it in a specific place. The things that he names, the wood drake and the heron, it's very specific. It's about a particular place, very likely some place that he knows at his home in Kentucky. And it gets me thinking about my own home and the place where I dwell. It gets me thinking when I'm with my students about the place that we share on our campus. And when I meet outside with my students or when I teach in wild places, it's easy to bring up that poem, and that poem winds up meaning something to each of them, either getting them to attend to the place that they're in, or it brings to mind some place that they know that they have felt at home. It's very different from feeling like college is work. All of a sudden, college can become a place where you reconnect with who you are in the world.
College can become a place where you reconnect with who you are in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've spent so much time, I think in the last couple of decades in particular, talking about college as career preparation. And we could go way into the weeds there, but so many of the young people that I meet each fall, they come loaded with anxiety because they know college is expensive and it's going to be hard work and so on. And they think, what am I going to get out of this in terms of a career? They're asking this question about job security, and they've got financial matters on their mind.
Their livelihoods are at stake.
Yeah. And I don't want to downplay that at all. All those concerns are real and important. I wish that college were free. I wish that people could come in and bask in learning for the sake of learning. But I can't do all that. And what I can do is I can remind them that there's a much bigger story that they're a part of, and give them opportunities to engage with nature and to consider who they are in the world, who they are in relation to other people. Poems like Barry's wind up doing that. Great traditions and great texts that endure the ages wind up doing that as well.
How does nature remind us of a bigger story?
Yeah. So often when we encounter nature, like we're in nature all the time, of course, right? But when we go outside, like paying attention to nature, we often go with the mindset of things to be avoided or things to be consumed or somehow harvested, right? So there's fear and there's appetite. Those are
fear and appetite.
I mean, those are important, right? From an evolutionary standpoint, if you don't have proper fear, you're going to get eaten by the cave bear. And if you don't have appetite, you're going to wither away. So you need both of those things. But when we allow ourselves to slow down and look at something like a pine cone and see the way that the bits of the pine cone spiral in two directions as well, those spirals kind of invite us to look in even more closely. And the more closely we look, the more we discover that nature is deep and complex. Like, have we probed to the very bottom of what makes pine cones? Even when we look at subatomic particles, we go, there's still mysteries here. And then you expand outward. So whether we go very small or very big, the universe is just full of things that we don't yet understand. That can be terrifying, but it can also be just wonder inspiring. And for me, it's often the latter, wonder inspiring. And then I think, okay, somehow I am here in this cosmos, and I have the gift of being aware of that. That's amazing. I don't know if the moon is aware of being present in the cosmos, and it's bigger than I am. I don't know if rocks are aware of being present in the cosmos, if stars are. Maybe they are. I don't know. But if nothing else, here I am in the cosmos, and I'm aware of it. That's amazing. Some little bit of the cosmos is conscious of itself, and I get to play that role for a tiny little time. 13.5 billion years we think that the universe is in age, and I'll live for, if I'm lucky, 100 of those years. I'm just this spark, this tiny little spark in a vast darkness. How marvelous to be that spark for a little while.
So a person can either say how marvelous to be the spot for a little while, or they can lament the fact that they're not more, that they don't get to live 1,000 years, that they're not as big as a dinosaur.
Right.
How have you grown comfortable with being the spark, the awareness that you are?
I mean, I think probably all of us wish that we didn't have to suffer and die, right? We'd all like to be stronger and healthier and wealthier and live longer and so on. But as you say, there's only so much we can do about that. And if I focus on the things that I can't do anything about, that will occupy my consciousness, it'll occupy my energy. And then this brief spark will spend all of its time reflecting on itself. It won't illuminate anything else. All of its light will be directed inwardly. But what if I just take the moment that I have in this cosmos and let some of that light shine outward, maybe light up the path for somebody else? Maybe just illuminate something nearby so that I can see that it too is marvelous. I mean, we're surrounded by things that won't last long. For the people who are watching this podcast, they'll see behind me a poster of bees and another one of trout and salmon. There's just I think a sea otter up above me, or a seal. And there's just a whole bunch of, I'm surrounded by little bits of nature just to remind myself, this is such an amazing place. And I know so little of it. I find when I'm focused on that, Jason, when I'm thinking about this little insect in front of me, this little fish, I'm not thinking about the fact that I am going to die someday. I'm thinking about how wonderful it is to be alive right now.
So when you focus your energy outward on nature, you're not thinking about your mortality. Your mental energy is somewhere else other than fixated on, oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah. You told me a story a few months ago about being so you Professor Augustana College, which is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, an urban campus, and you were looking at this light pole, right? At this tree, at a tree, and then slowly campus security started to come up and go, "Are you all right?"
Yeah, that's right. I was standing I don't know, maybe a foot away from a tree that's a young tree, so it's got the trunk is a diameter of, I don't know, 5 inches, something like that. And I was just standing there staring at it. Yes, campus safety officer walked up to me and said, "Are you okay, sir?" I think he wasn't sure, was I losing it? This guy's just standing there staring at a tree, or was I about to be dangerous to somebody? Like I'm having a mental breakdown. I think I told you, but I'll tell your listeners what was going on. I was watching lady beetles. The tree was if I remember right, it was a Siberian elm tree. And those trees, they must emit some chemical signal that really attracts lady beetles. And as I walked by this tree, I noticed that there were several of those Siberian elms, but not a lot of other, there are other trees, but not a lot of others of that same kind. And the Siberian elms all had lady beetles on them. So I got in close to look to see, there's an introduced species of lady beetles from Asia, but there are some native ones as well. And I wanted to see which ones. And I saw that they were all there. Not all of them. I saw 3 or 4 species, quite obviously. The ones that everyone knows, they're big and red or orange, and they've got some black spots on them. But recently I had learned, thanks to something, project done at South Dakota State University, that there are something like 70 species of lady beetles in South Dakota. And some of them are so small that if you put them on the black dot on the back of one of the lady beetles we all know, they wouldn't completely cover the black dot. So they're really hard to see. And as I was staring at this tree, I realized that right in front of me, there are some of these lady beetles that are about 1 millimeter long. And, the biggest of our lady beetles they're closer to 1 centimeter long. So, I mean, this is something that's 1/10 the length and just tiny. It looks like the head of a pin, and it's just moving very slowly around the tree. So I was staring at that, and that's why the campus safety officer thought that I was nuts.
So I think about the specificity and with which you talk about that, and the excitement and all the knowledge that you're not only talking about lady beetles, you're talking about 70 different types and different sizes, and I think about that level of attention, that level of appreciation compared to next this Wednesday I head out to Oregon. I'm driving out to Oregon and I'll be driving in my car, probably going 80 miles per hour most of the way, and I will miss in that drive, by the necessity of needing to get out there, I will miss literally billions upon billions of tiny things, of tiny things to notice, like you just described. Right. Talk about vastness that I'll be missing. So how in your own life, like, you have the power to pay attention to these tiny details and delight in them and find wonder and joy in them, and but yet at the same time you drive places. Yeah. How do you reconcile the two worlds that you live in?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I have a job that rewards me for looking at the tiny little things. The campus safety officer has to pay attention to what's going on campus with the humans, and I get, as an environmental studies professor, I get the opportunity to look at these very small things. It would be easy for me to be overwhelmed. I don't have all 70 species memorized, far from it. And that's just the Coconellidae. That's just the lady beetles. There's so many more kinds of beetles and so many more kinds of invertebrates on campus. I mean, my campus is only a few acres in the city, but it probably has a few trillion invertebrates living on it. So I can't ever know them all. And this is what I was saying before about, there are things that we can control and there are the things that we can't control. I don't think I have the mental capacity to know them all. I do have the mental capacity to pay attention a little while to a little bit. So sometimes what I do is I create instruments of observation, or I'll acquire them. I think I've got one in my pocket. I most of the time I carry with me a little hand lens. And the hand lens has an obvious benefit. I can look closely at something, right? But it has another benefit, and that is that it's small. I can only look at what fits inside it. So,
oh, wow.
Everything else gets excluded, but it allows me to focus my attention right there, I've done something similar with a piece of PVC. I got a long piece of PVC pipe, and I cut it into meter-long sections, and then got some elbows that I can stick together. So I made a square that's 1 meter square. And what I can do with that is I can carry it out onto a field and I can just drop it. Or I can put it in a pond or in a river and drop it. And then I say to myself, I'm not going to pay attention to everything. I'm just going to look what happens to be within this 1 meter. I could make it smaller even, right? I could just, I'm going to do just a square foot or something even smaller still. But I can focus my attention and say, I'll look at this for just a little while. And that's me sort of reconciling myself. I can't survey the entire river, or the entire prairie. I can't know it all. But there's one more advantage to this, Jason, and that is that, like, if you and I go for a walk together, it's now not just me with my 2 eyes, or you with your 2 eyes. It's us with our 4 eyes, our 4 ears, our sense of smell and touch, and our sense of the wind blowing in our hair and across our skin. And we can share conversation with one another and say, look at that. That's pretty wonderful, the way that amplifies what we observe, because each of us has different gifts. Each of us will see different things, hear different things. And that's, I don't know, it just makes it more delightful.
And sometimes practical. I don't know if you were in Alaska and Costa Rica, but you had this story of walking with a group of people in the woods and someone lost something and you are all searching for. Do you know what story I'm talking about?
I think I remember the one.
Oh, thank goodness, because I don't know many more details.
Yeah, I was with a group of students that included my son Michael, my former student Rob Green, and a number of others. We were in the rainforest in northeastern Guatemala, Petén, and we were visiting.
Oh, not Alaska, not Costa Rica. Okay, I'm glad you can fill in the details.
Well, the stories, I probably have stories from each of those places, but this is the one that comes to mind. We'll see if it's the one you were thinking of. We went up for a walk. We walked several miles down these trails in the rainforest. It's very dense. If something's 10 feet away from you, you can't necessarily see it because the forest grows and grows and grows. And you don't need sunglasses in that forest because the canopy covers the direct sun. And I think Rob had his sunglasses hanging from his shirt, and they must have fallen off at some point. And we get several miles down, and Rob realizes, I don't have my sunglasses anymore.
Several miles. This is not feet.
Yeah.
Several miles.
Several miles, yeah.
Holy cow.
And so thankfully we were going to go back on the same trail. And so he asked everybody, please keep an eye out for my sunglasses, and let's just see if we find them somewhere. They were a favorite pair of Ray-Bans or something.
So how many people do you think were in the group?
About 15.
About 15.
Yeah. So we're walking along. Rob is out front. My son Michael's in the back. And we all walk back. And at some point, Michael behind us says, found them. They were right on the trail, right in front of us. And somehow 14 of us had walked past them, stepped over them, thankfully not stepped on them. And Michael, we sometimes refer to, my wife and I call him our thing finder. He has a gift for being able to find things when no one else can find them. But sunglasses on a trail, it should be pretty easy to see them, right? But it's so easy to miss, even when you're looking for something. It's so easy to miss it. We've all had that experience. Where are my glasses? Where are my car keys, my wallet? Those things that can't be far away, that we know what they look like. So if that's the case with the stuff that we know that we're looking for, how much more are we missing that we don't even know to look for? Is that the story you were thinking of? Is it?
Yeah. And that story is good, so good for the point you said they were way on the trail, but then also I love that it's about teamwork. How like if there had just been 14 of you, if your son had not been on that trip, those sunglasses would still be in Guatemala.
Yeah.
Holy cow. No, this is what I love about rich conversation. Like I couldn't anticipate where this was going at all. I mean, I prepared, but it's going in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
So, back to your little, will you please get out your magnifying glass again?
Yeah.
So students come to you like living in this day and age with automobiles, cars, AI phones, Google with endless resources. How do you teach them the art of deciding?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have magnifying glasses and metaphorical magnifying glasses all over, but if we can never decide what to focus on, our energy is going to constantly be a million places. How do you help guide your students to the art of choosing themselves what to focus on?
Yeah. Part of it is I have to meet them where they're at. You know, they come to me. I as you mentioned, I teach at a university, and so I'm meeting my students when they've already been in school for 12 years or more. So they've got habits of what to expect to do in school. And they expect that there will be things that they will have to hand in, and then they will get graded for those things. And those grades, of course, they're associating with their, as you mentioned, their livelihood in the future. So what I want is for them to have delight in slowing down, but I have to then connect that to their habits of learning and to reward them for slowing down. There's some ways, I want to show you something. There's some ways that our technology can change the way that we view the world, right? So here's one of my cameras with its great big lens and it's all the buttons and bells and whistles and technology. And you've seen this one before. We've taken this out on some of our walks. And, it's great if you want to capture an image of something that's far away or very small. That's important. I recently got this camera though, and I want to show you the back of the camera. There's no screen.
Oh shoot, that didn't work. Sorry.
That's all right.
I wanted to get okay. No. Okay, show the back.
So
it's no screen.
Very simple camera. This is called a camp snap, and it's kind of taken off in popularity because there's no screen. There's a little counter right here that'll tell you how many pictures you've taken. That's it. You're not looking at the camera. So if you want to take a picture of something, it's got an on switch. That's it. And it makes a noise to tell you it's on, and then makes a noise to let you know you took a picture. But I have no idea what the picture looks like, whether it turned out or not. And so I won't know until I get home. And that very small technological change has me thinking not about the camera, but it has me thinking about what I'm using the camera to see. So with my students, when I'm teaching environmental studies, and actually and teaching philosophy as well, I ask them to use pen and paper. And they don't have to be perfect at it. I just want them to try. I'll show you. Hopefully, this will show up on the screen, and I'll describe it for people who are just listening. I want people to go outside and to try to draw something. So this is my attempt to draw a gray-headed coneflower. And I don't grade my students on their artistic ability. Because I don't want them to be afraid of that. What I do is I just ask them to try, go out and try. And I found, by the way, so this is a journal I kept when I was teaching in Greece this spring, that if I stand in front of something and start sketching it, here I was, I think this was the Temple of Hephaestus in Athens. As I started sketching this, no art collector is going to want to buy this, and I don't really care. Other people that not part of my group came up behind me and looked over my shoulder at what I was sketching, and then looked up at what I was seeing.
Wow.
And I loved that because it means that for that moment, rather than looking at their phones and wondering what, am I getting a picture to share? There's nothing wrong with that. They were looking at another person for a moment, and then they were asking silently, what does he see? I love the way that our attention, if we focus our attention well, can invite others to do the same. So when I go out with my students and I'm looking closely at things, I'm hoping not to make them worry that their art isn't as good as mine or something like that. No, I'm hoping to let them see me being a student of nature and to see me fumbling. I'm not a trained artist, just to see me using a pen to try to capture something. The aim is not the art. The aim is the attention.
You just said, I love that. If I focus my attention well, it helps other people, my students or whoever, or my students or tourists in Greece. People, strangers, people you'll never see again. And probably didn't even talk to you. For that moment in Greece, you were helping the people who looked down at what you were drawing and up at the building, at the temple. You help them focus their attention well.
Some of my favorite experiences in sketching while traveling have been when other people see me sketching and then start to sketch on their own as well. They'll take out everybody's got, well, not everybody, lots of people will have a pen or scrap of paper, and they'll say, well, I can try that too. My wife and I were in Guatemala a year and a half ago, and we were sitting on top of a temple, a Mayan temple in Tikal. And there was a young family from Spain right beside us. We had gone in for a sunset tour, and this mother and father and their little daughter, who was probably about 4 years old, saw me sketching. And the little girl turned to her father and said, "Papá, tienes un bolígrafo? Daddy, do you have a pen that I can borrow?" And he said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't have one." But I had my sketch bag. I try to carry my art bag with me everywhere. And I had extra paper and pencils, and I asked the parents, "Would you like to have your daughter sketch with me?" And they were all eager for that. So I took out some paper and put it in front of her and laid out my colored pencils and said, "Let's sketch." And she said, "I don't know how." So we just talked. I said, "What do you see? What colors do you see?" we're in the rainforest. She said, green. I said, great. Here's the green pencil. Sketch something. And she just went at it, just scribbling all over the page. What else do you see? Well, there's a sun setting. What color is it? It's red. All right, let's do red. And she made this glorious mess on the page, and she had so much fun, and I had so much fun, and I could see your parents were having fun too. And who cares if it looked like a photograph? The camera can take a photograph easily. The thing is, this little girl, her name was Daniela, I found out. Daniela was paying attention, and she was noticing the colors of the rainforest, and not just seeing it, but like paying attention to it. I hope that she'll remember that well into her adulthood, and I hope that someday she'll get a chance to do that for other children or for other adults.
Talk about how ripples of kindness, like you didn't. Like the Daniel could have said that, and you could have said sorry, I'm busy sketching. Thank you for your interest, but I'm busy. But instead, you took a moment and you invited her into what you were doing, and now maybe she'll be a college professor, or maybe she'll teach her children, or who knows, someday, based on being inspired by that feeling of that moment when she was drawing alongside this nice man. Wow.
Yeah, this work of attention, I mean, I could make it about me. I could, again, focus that energy inward and say, just as you're saying, sorry, don't bother me right now. I'm a famous artist at work, or I'm doing something important and adult, and you're just a little child, or any number of other ways.
I'm a college professor. I have a PhD.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm important,
How many PhDs do you have?
Right. Yeah. I like to remind people that my PhD does not mean that I'm smarter than you are. It just means that I spent a lot more time in school, perhaps more than I should have. I might be more stubborn. It was harder for colleges to get rid of me.
But anyway, you could have been like, oh, look at me, I'm doing important work.
Yeah. Yeah. But what's the point of the work? The world is wonderful, right? And I want to share that wonder with other people. If I'm saying the world is wonderful and it's for me, I hoard this. Now don't look. Get out of my rainforest. It's not my rainforest, but get out of here. Leave me alone. What kind of person have I become, and what have I done to the world, and what have I done to the Danielas of the world? But if I can say, hey, yeah, sure, you join me. Here's some paper. Here's some pencils. Maybe I've just opened a new venue of discovery for her. As you say, maybe she'll become a teacher. Sure. Maybe she'll just be somebody who has had that moment of sharing that she'll amplify in some other way. That's great.
So David, I almost winced at turning the discussion this way, because like we've been talking about the delightful little details, and I hope people are getting a sense of what walking with you is like, because it's magnificent, and I feel joy and wonder as I do it. But then there's another way we can pay attention. We can turn on the news, and like right now, there's massive fires burning close to us, and in the boundary waters of northern Minnesota. There's pristine place where so many creatures, so many trees, where people have gone for years to get away, to adventure, to learn about themselves.
Yeah.
And I know when I hear a story like that, a story about global warming, what have you, I like all my attention and delight in little details can go to suddenly like that to fear and oh my gosh, what kind of world do we live in?
Yeah.
What am I doing to make it worse? What will life be
Right.
for me 20 years from now? Not to mention people 7 generations from now.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that massive contrast
Yeah.
between the world of delightful details and the world of fear of environmental destruction?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things is that if we want to preserve anything, we've got to know that it's there. We save what we love what we know. If we don't know about it, if we don't know about those tiny little lady beetles, we might just spray insecticides and not notice that we're killing something so small we didn't even see it. That it's the hard work of paying attention, Jason. There's wonderful to pay attention to the flowers and the beautiful butterflies. It's not as wonderful. People sometimes ask me, like, what possible beauty is there in a mosquito, or in a pathogen, or in a tick, or a bear that's going to attack me or something. It's easy to focus on the things that might do us some harm. I was talking before about how when we go into nature, sometimes we have a mindset of fear, and sometimes we have a mindset just of appetite. And wonder is somewhere else. It's not just about fear, and it's not just about appetite. There's a kind of a fear, like an awe, and there's an appetite, like a desire to know, but it's different from fear and appetite. If we go into nature and allow ourselves to see what's there, to look closely, to slow down, to not just go in to get the photographs that we can share, but if we go there to pay attention to some little bit, then perhaps we might even allow ourselves to fall in love with that some little bit. For some people, they'll become geologists. Some people will become birders. But some people will start falling in love with snails, or with ants, or something tiny, like the gut microbiome of bees, as one of my students once fell in love with. Each of us is going to have those different little passions. So when we allow ourselves to fall in love with those little things, then all together, the more of us that do that, the more of us that are aware of what's out there, what is at risk, and the more of us that can pay attention to doing something to preserve what we have received. I'll mention a second thing, and this might sound weird to some of your listeners. I hope it doesn't. I'm going to talk about religion just for a moment. And just FYI, I'm going to talk about religion not in a way that says you have to believe what I believe. This is just me talking about a practice that I have that I find helpful. When you read the Wendell Berry poem, and he begins by talking about when despair comes over him, he goes into that place and finds the peace of wild things. And sometimes when despair comes over me and I recognize that there are things that I can't help, that I can't change, nevertheless, I don't want to let go of those things. I know that if I focus on them, on the things that I can't change, that I can't preserve, I might expend a tremendous amount of energy and not get anything done. But what I can do is I can pray. And by pray, I mean something very specific. In my case, I mean, I can consider this wonderful thing that I've come to know, no matter how small and unimportant it might seem. And I can hold it together with the very best that I can imagine. A love that would care about a cosmos that has this wonderful little thing in it. I can hold them together and dismiss other worries for a moment and just consider the love. I'll call it the love of God. And the love of God for this little snail or this little moss or whatever it might be. When I'm doing that, I am not changing the snail or the moss. I am not somehow controlling the divine or the cosmos. I'm controlling a part of myself. And I am saying, for a little while, I will dedicate part of my attention to this beautiful thing in front of me that I have yet to understand. And I will hold it with the best love that I can imagine. And that changes me, Jason. It might not do anything else, but it changes me. And it's almost like a tiny little bit of rewiring of my inner life, of my brain or of my soul or whatever. It's making me into the kind of person who now pays attention to that little thing with deep love. And maybe that will translate into something when it comes to legislation, or maybe it will translate into something when it comes to my future actions. I don't know, but I can do that little thing. And I can do it again and again. When I read the news and I hear about disasters somewhere, I can do the same thing. If I hear that there's been an earthquake in a far off country, I can pause for a moment and imagine, what are those people going through, and hold them together with the greatest love that I can imagine. I don't want anybody to say, oh, that's all you have to do is just do that, and then you can stop thinking about those people and get on with your life. It changes me into the sort of person who wants to give a little bit of my time and attention to people suffering far away. And now that's part of my day. And it's part of my habit and my routine. And when that comes up in conversation with somebody else, maybe that somebody else will know something that we can do. Maybe it'll be an engineer who knows how to make better buildings, or an architect. Maybe it'll be somebody who has set up a GoFundMe to help out. Maybe, I don't know what it'll be, but I've prepared myself for that moment. This isn't a cure-all. And I don't, that's why I'm always cautious. I say, I'm going to talk about religion for a moment. I don't want people to think this is some kind of like mumbo jumbo, or that I'm trying to impose something on somebody else, or that I somehow dismiss the worries of the world. This is all about wonder and love and attention.
You recently gave a TED Talk entitled "The Clean Water Filters No One Knows About," and that was about wonder, love, and attention too.
Yeah. I think I have here, for those who are viewing, something that I can show. So this is a shell of a freshwater mussel. I'll hold it up next to my face, and you could see that if I wanted to, I could cover much of my face with it. So it's a pretty big shell. It's about the size of my hand. So this is one of the species of freshwater mussels that lives in the rivers of South Dakota. Just as I was saying before about fear and appetite, when I talk about mussels to people, they often either think of the invasive mussels, the zebra mussels or the quagga mussels, those dracænid mussels that have invaded our waterways. Or they think about appetite, those saltwater mussels that people like to eat. And these are neither mussels that somebody wants to eat. I'm told they don't taste very good, nor are they invasive. There's about 30 or so species of these native to South Dakota. It's one of my favorites, the three ridge, or the emblema plicata. You can sort of see the ridges as I turn it. These 30 or so species in South Dakota, 300 or so species across North America, are amazing water filters. They, one of these mussels could filter maybe 25 gallons of water a day. And unfortunately, for the better part of a century, from the late 1800s until well into the middle or later half of the 20th century, we harvested them because we liked the way that they made shirt buttons. Most of our men's shirt buttons have got that kind of mother of pearl look to them for just that reason. My apologies to those who are just listening. They won't get to view this, but I have here in my hand a mother of pearl button that's got a big curve to it because it was made out of a freshwater mussel shell. So this, of course, is a very big button. This one's about the size of one of the lenses in my eyeglasses. But we harvested these mussels because we thought they're so abundant, we'll never run out of them. And we didn't realize how fragile they were. We didn't think they were useful because they don't taste good. Most of them don't produce pearls for us. We don't really fear them, but we don't really like them either because they're not pretty. On the outside, they just look kind of dark and gooey. And on the inside, though, there's that beautiful mother of pearl. So we over-harvested them, and little by little they started vanishing, and then all of a sudden they started vanishing from our rivers. And now many of our rivers are no longer clean because the filters that used to be there aren't there anymore. We didn't love them. We had an appetite for one little piece of them, the way that they looked. And then we used them up without realizing that we were harming them and harming ourselves at the same time.
So how does hope come into this story?
There are a number of places where there's a handful of people who are trying to restore the freshwater mussels. Nature has the capacity to heal itself in many cases. I mean, once a mussel's gone extinct, there's not much we can do about that. But where there are still mussels, and there's still mussels in most of our rivers, their populations are small, but where they're there, we can start to take care of them. If we get to know them, if we understand their relationship with the other species that live there. They have a complex reproductive strategy that involves other species, for instance. They can't reproduce on their own, most of them. But when we get to know them, we can help them to thrive again. And if we help them to thrive, we'll discover that there are hundreds or thousands of other species, including Homo sapiens, us, that benefit from their thriving. Their flourishing is connected to our flourishing.
Powerful. David, at the beginning, I mentioned Professor Ann Peterson. I went to Augustana Augustana University as a student, and I mentioned that she was really telling me about the power plays in the freshman religion class in a way I'll never forget. And she was your colleague. Would you take a few minutes to celebrate who she was?
I'd be honored to. We'll see if I can do this without crying. Anne was my colleague for almost 20 years at Augustana. She was one of the people who hired me fresh out of graduate school. Anne was a remarkable scholar and a remarkable teacher. She was somebody who worked as a theologian and as a pastor, trained both as a pastor and as a theologian, but she was also, she was a musician. She was somebody who cared deeply about the sciences, who cared about the connection between the humane disciplines, literature, theology, art, etc., and the scientific disciplines, in particular medicine. She recognized that the things that we believe, the art that we produce and that we consume, the literature that we read, the cultures that we have affect the way that we treat people in hospitals and in healthcare settings. And so she spent decades of her career training not only people who would become theologians and pastors, but thousands of people who went on to become nurses and physicians. And above all, she trained them to love. I'm now chair of the department and was chair for a while she was teaching in the religion department. And so I've been given the gift of tributes coming in from alumni who knew her And again and again and again, they point out that this woman who earned very little money and gave very much of her time and her life changed their lives by taking them seriously. She didn't just take information and impart it. She didn't say, here's stuff to learn about theology, memorize it. She met students where they were at. She got to know them, regardless of who they were, where they were coming from. I imagine you can attest to this from your own experience as well. And she helped them to grow, knowing that helping them to grow meant helping other people to grow as well. And it's a way in which, even though we lost Anne just a couple of days ago, her life and her teaching and her legacy, I think, will last for a very long time by the example that she showed and she lived, imitated by thousands of people who were her students. And I'll mention to your listeners that they might check out, there's a Substack that she and her husband, Gary, put together called A Road Trip with Cancer. That's really a beautiful tribute to Anne's life. Gary, her husband, is a musician and an artist, and they combined writing and visual art as they chronicled their last years together. It's quite moving and quite lovely. Thanks for giving me the chance to talk about Anne. I miss her a lot.
I'm sorry for your loss and for my loss and for everyone who knew Anne's loss. But for people listening who never got a chance to know Anne, what should they take away from her life, or what's something you will want them to take away from her life?
Well, you can still, of course, find many of her publications, her books, and so on. But perhaps more than anything, Anne recognized the value in everybody. She was not one to look down on other people because she disagreed with them or because there was something she didn't understand about them. Regardless of who they were, they showed up in Anne's classroom or in Anne's office or in Anne's life. She took them seriously with love that was love that I think she would have described as the love of God. And I think others would describe it that way as well.
Recognizing the value in everybody, whether you agree with them or not. Yeah. What a legacy! What a legacy!
Indeed. Yeah. It's a of all the legacies that we could leave behind, it's, I think, one of the best. If I had to choose between that legacy and, say, leaving the legacy of, I don't know, great wealth or buildings or statues or something like that in my honor, I would rather have the legacy of love and of wonder than the legacy of just leaving behind a lot of money and stuff.
You will to choose what you just said. You really chosen a specific path, and you're on the path, and you're finding the light in. What would you say? What words of encouragement would you give someone who's still really searching for their path in life, who's overwhelmed by everything that's going on?
Let me go back to some of the things that I was saying before. There is a tremendous amount that we cannot control. And that can be overwhelming. But first of all, none of us is alone in that. Second, we can at least imagine that there are things that are worth our attention, our loving attention. And I think taking time to direct some, maybe not all, but some of our mental, spiritual, psychological energy towards those things that are in need of our love or worthy of our love can be really healthy for us. It doesn't answer the question of what do you do with your career, what do you do with your life? But I think that having habits of attention, habits of care can change the way that we walk through life and can help us to mitigate some of the stresses and the worries that come with an ordinary life. I'll add, maybe if I may, just one other word that I heard from Bishop Jonathan Foltz, Episcopal Bishop of South Dakota, this past week. He asked, I heard him asking a bunch of young people, what do you want to try? What are one or two things that you want to try? And I realized that he wasn't just asking, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? What do you want to do with your life? In a way, he was asking that, but he was asking, what do you want to try? And his reason for asking that, I think, was that so often we get focused on what am I going to do in order to make money? And then that narrows our imagination to those jobs that are already defined. The job is important, it's good, income is good. But don't forget that there are things that are on your heart that you want to try. And maybe it's birding, maybe it's welding, maybe it's, I don't know what it is. Learning how to fly a hot air balloon, or just learning how to run faster, or whatever it might be. Don't worry about what it'll add up to. But if there are things that aren't going to harm you and harm other people that you want to try, consider them and maybe go for one of them. Ideally in the company of somebody else who loves you.
What do you want to try? I hadn't anticipated this question at all, but would you please put a little plug in for each of us asking powerful questions of our lives?
Yeah. So I think you and I have talked about this before, that I'm both an ecologist and a philosopher, or that is to say, I teach ecology and I teach philosophy. And when I teach ecology, I am asking questions about the world. I might look at these different mussel shells that I showed you and ask, why are they shaped differently? What advantage does each shape give them, and so on. As a philosopher, I'm asking questions about those questions. I'm asking even questions like, why did I ask that question about the shape of the mussel shells? And what other questions should I be asking? It's really easy for us to fall into the habit of asking the questions that we've been trained to ask in order to pass a test or to get the job or whatever. The self-help section of a bookstore, posts on LinkedIn, etc., are all about teaching us the right interview questions and how to get through the next stage to get the thing that we want. But what about the thing that we don't yet know about? What about that tiny little lady beetle? I mentioned 70 different species of lady beetles, 30 different species of freshwater mussels. Those are the ones we've discovered, Jason. There might be more. There might be species that we've never even imagined. And when we get in the habit of just asking the same questions, or questions that we know that we can answer, or questions that we ask because we're afraid of something or because we are hungry for something, we might miss out everything in between there, the questions of wonder, the questions that open up our wonder to this wonderful world, the questions of love, the questions that open us up to the possibility that that person that I disagree with, or that person that I don't yet know, might have something absolutely marvelous about them. And that you yourself, when you doubt yourself, when you think, I will not live long enough, I will never be as strong as I want to be, or as smart as I want to be, or I will never live up to somebody else's standards, you are wonderful. More wonderful than all of the mussels in the world, more wonderful than all of the beetles in the world. There's so much about the universe we don't understand. There's so much about ourselves we don't understand. And anyone who tells you, listener, that you are not awesome, even if you are awkwardly awesome, maybe especially if you're awkwardly awesome, you are wonderful. Don't let anyone stop you from asking the questions that will help you to discover the wonder that is within you.
Don't let anyone stop you from asking the questions that will help you discover the wonder within you. Wow. 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 Speaking of questions, before I thank you profusely, I have one more question, and I asked you this question when we talked before on Awkwardly Awesome podcast. But David, as a today, July 20th, 2026, what does doing your imperfect best mean to you?
It means putting myself out there and trying things. You mentioned the TEDx talk that I gave. I gave the TEDx talk as an amateur. I'm not a professional muscle expert. And I realized that I said a couple of things in there that are incorrect about muscles. Oh, well, I'm still learning. Keep going, keep learning. That's my approach. So I buy more books. I go to the library, I get out more books, and I learn all I can. I read articles, learn all I can, and realize I'm never going to know everything about muscles, but I'm going to keep trying. And that's true for all kinds of other areas of life too.
David, thank you so much for being a professor and embodying that a professor can be curious about so many things. Can believe in wonder, can believe in joy, and that a professor doesn't have to know it all, that they can keep asking questions and keep inventing their life like us all. Thank you, and thank you for sharing that with us. I so appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Jason, and it's always an honor to be on Awkwardly Awesome, and it's just a delight to talk with you every time. Thank you.
And thank you, and please stay on the line as I wrap up. Oh, people better see me. Oh well. Okay. Speaking of, okay, there. As I could, if I was going to talk directly to you, that I should be on the screen. But thank you so much for tuning in and considering what David has to say, considering his attention to the world, considering the things he's seen, and I invite you to consider what you've seen, how you attend to the world, what questions you ask, and most of all, how you can love the brilliance that you are and the unique spark that you are, and how you can keep growing in your life, growing in your wonder of who you are and what you can do and what you can contribute, and growing in your appreciation for yourself. Thanks for being you, and please, thanks for listening, and please tune in next week for another episode. And if it's 1,000 years from now, I'm sorry you're going to have to watch reruns because I'll be somewhere else by then. So take care, and remember you are the best, and you're the only one of you in the world. Until next time, remember to smile.